Ole Miss takes on Kentucky today at 3:30 p.m. Eastern time on ABC. I think this is a pretty good pregame time to go to the mayor of Corinth and figure out what he has to say about it.
You are Locked On Ole Miss, your daily podcast on the Ole Miss Rebels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the Locked On Ole Miss podcast, the most watched Ole Miss podcast out there. I am your host, Steven Willis, a 10-year veteran member of the national media with Yahoo Sports and a former Ole Miss staff member. On today's show, we're diving into today's matchup with the Kentucky Wildcats on ABC at 3:30. We'll give predictions. We'll talk about concerns. Basically, just talk about this game. We're going to do a pregame show with the mayor of Corinth to see exactly how that goes. We're free and available on all the podcast app platforms and YouTube. Thank you for making Locked On Ole Miss your first listen every day. And a big shout out to the insiders and everydayers who make this show what it is. Don't forget to check out a second listen on the network. Chris Gordy at Locked On SEC or Corey Burton at even Locked On Vandy offer big, fresh insights across the Southeastern Conference. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Football season is real. It's honestly here. So visit FanDuel's app today and start planning your futures bets now. Really interesting stuff. Today, Ole Miss takes on Kentucky. Let's bring in Tom Vanderford, the mayor of Corinth, about this game. And Tom, I know everybody is nervous because of what happened a year ago with the Kentucky Wildcats. But honestly, this isn't the same Kentucky team as a year ago. This isn't the same thing necessarily at all. I think Ole Miss should win this game, honestly, pretty convincingly, but I do get Ole Miss fans being nervous about this game because of what happened a year ago.
Well, you know, if you've ever been an Ole Miss fan for more than 2 or 3 years, you have this kind of
PTSD.
Yeah, PTSD. But don't fret, man. Barian Brown's not there. You know, they're good
Dane
running.
Key's gone.
Dane Key's at Nebraska. So I don't think that they replace these guys with equal talent. I may be wrong, but what I do think that people need to understand is, we've all heard the rumors about they've been practicing off-fall practice for this game, and it means a lot, and all that good coach speak stuff, and I get that. But what we have is, in my opinion, a defense that's as good as it was last year, coupled with an offense that if our line ever gets everything in place, we're going to be very hard to beat. I mean, I'm sure I'm not the only one that said this. I'm sure you've said this, but this game's going to come down to our offensive line versus their defensive line. Their defensive line's their strength. They want to play small ball. We're going to have to find a way to stretch that field. And I think we've got the weapons to do it. Bill Flowers must have been ecstatic when he watched the game Saturday with all that passing over the middle. It was wide open. The play action was working. Now, I know it's Georgia State, but the play action was working, and the passing game, he had a few mistakes, but, good Lord, and love Jackson Dart. But if you look at Jackson's first game at Ole Miss, and then, Simmons' first game, Simmons a little bit better. Of course, he's had a couple of years in the system. This is his third year in the system. So, but guys, we got a lot to be excited about. Our one thing that we need to work on is saw a lot of drops in that first game. Odom dropped a couple. The kid,
you could tell he was nervous.
Yeah, and the kid from Wake Forest dropped a couple, but especially the one that hit him right in the helmet. But other than that, I mean, you got to improve from game one to game two. So I'm excited. I think we're going to rip them up.
Yeah, it's one of those things that the longer I think about this game, I think that Ole Miss is going to win by multiple touchdowns.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah, yeah, and it's weird. I'm expecting though a little bit. It's like part of my mind, the PTSD that we talked about earlier. I'm expecting at least a little bit of a rock fight in this game because that's what Mark Stoops does.
Yeah, he's gonna try to run the football, of course. Calzada is not the best quarterback in the SEC by far, but he's going to try and run the ball, play action, that basic Stoops offense that he runs. And like I said, their best part of their whole team is their defensive line. I still don't think it's as good as ours, but it's good.
Yes, and it's going to be an actual test for the Ole Miss offensive line.
Yeah.
If this year's game looks like last year's game, maybe worry a little bit because the big defensive lineman that they had a year ago is in the NFL now.
Right.
So if Ole Miss is able to run the ball a little bit more effectively, they had 90 yards rushing in last year's game. And like 30 of those yards were Jackson Dart scrambles.
Exactly.
So there was about 50 yards rushing. So if Ole Miss can outdo that, they're going to be in better shape. I love the thought of the jet sweep coming back into Ole Miss's offense. Deuce Alexander was very good running that play. You saw the way he cut it up.
Yeah.
They've obviously practiced that before. And Harrison Wallace, kind of being the go-to. I did not have that on my bingo card going into this football season.
I thought Caden Lee was going to be the man, but I'm sure I didn't watch it super close, even though I've watched it 3 or 4 times. But I'm sure they were doubling up and doing things to keep Caden out of the game for the most part. But we've got so many weapons now.
Yeah, it should be pretty interesting. And we'll talk about last year's Kentucky game, getting ready for today's matchup with the Kentucky Wildcats in Lexington. And we'll talk with Tom all about that in just a second. But first, I do want to let you know about it's almost the weekend. Time to look back and crown this week's MVP on the Who Delivered, powered by DoorDash. Just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash streaks, saving more every time you order, you can have these players deliver on Saturday when it mattered most. Let's break it all down. For Ole Miss, Austin Simmons delivered in a big way. His quick decision-making led to a touchdown early in the game by Daquan Wright and got everybody really giddy. When the pressure was on, he came through, no hesitation, no delay. And if you're a ball knower, this performance wasn't a fluke. Austin Simmons is looking to start a streak. And just like Austin Simmons delivered for the Ole Miss Rebels, DoorDash delivers your Saturdays. With DoorDash streaks, you can save every Saturday you order, stack it up all season, and you can save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday, keep the streak alive, fuel your game day only with DoorDash. Terms apply. Promo period is going to last through November 18th. And Mazda crafts cars for those who choose to do more than simply move. They follow what moves them every time they drive, and that's what makes Mazda stand out. They go beyond safety and style and performance to deliver a driving experience that feels alive in every detail. It's an athlete like that where they focus on every single detail. Mazda's kind of doing the same thing, from metallic accents to a hand-stitched Napa leather. You can feel it the moment you get behind the wheel, the smooth handling, intuitive controls, and standard all-wheel drive in every crossover SUV. Whether it's a quick drive to practice or a weekend road trip, Mazda makes even everyday drives feel special. It's the small details that make big plays. And just like there's more to every player, there's more to every Mazda vehicle. Mazda, move and be moved. Pretty cool stuff there. All right, Tom. We're going to go back to Tom Vanderford. Tom, Jackson Dart last year. We're going to harp on this game because it's until the next game kicks off against the Kentucky Wildcats. It's the latest data point.
Right.
Jackson Dart threw to Trey Harris 11 times for 175 yards. He had 245, 250 yards total, and he threw like a 40-yard Hail Mary on fourth down right at the end of the game. It was essentially Trey Harris or nothing in that game. I genuinely think in today's matchup, there needs to be more variety. I get the feed your stars type deal. That was too much.
It was, and I'm not sure why they did that, because as we saw after Trey got hurt, we did have other wide receivers. And so this year, though, I think that one of the things that Austin Simmons, has stressed in his training is grabbing multiple receivers. So, and people forget, man, off season, he's down there throwing passes to Miami Dolphin wide receivers. He is a very cerebral quarterback. So I do think that we're going to see great things from him. Now he's going to hiccup, like the one where he had that misread in the end zone.
Mm-hmm.
The other one was just, he got hit and the ball path.
Yeah, the other one wasn't his fault.
Oh, right. But like I said, man, this team is going to go as far as our offensive line takes us. I think that's our only, at this point, average spot we have on the team.
All right. Now, the one thing that I have a concern about in today's game, well, one of the things I have a concern about in today's game is this is Austin Simmons' first road start.
Right.
And he's talented. Everybody's seen the talent. Whenever it looks good, it looks really, really good. But when Austin Simmons has first, he has started slow multiple times this year. And let me tell you what I mean by that. Austin Simmons had a slow start in the first scrimmage that he took part in the starting quarterback, threw a couple of pick sixes. Everybody talks about that. That's where the narrative of the offensive line started. It was like, oh no, Austin Simmons, yada, yada, yada. And Austin got bounced back from that, had a much better end of the scrimmage, but the start was a little bit of a struggle. Same thing kind of happened in his home starting opener. The first quarter, 2 interceptions, kind of got his feet underneath him, got a lot better as it went on. I think it's going to be imperative on Lane Kiffin to kind of call this game in a way, because it needs to be safe at the beginning of the game for Ole Miss, because you cannot win this game in the first quarter, but you can absolutely lose it against Kentucky.
Oh, yes.
And if they come out guns a-blazing, throwing the ball 30 yards downfield, falling into the Mark Stoops trap, that's kind of coaching malpractice. I think this game is going to be on Lane Kiffin to kind of let him get underneath himself, complete some passes, all of that stuff, so he can continue to develop and move forward. Because one thing that everybody can agree with, you would much rather play him in his second start than to play him in his seventh start. By the time he gets to Florida or South Carolina, he's going to be difficult to deal with. But we are still at the point that Mark Stoops is going to throw some stuff out that he's never seen before.
Oh, definitely. Stoops is a defensive guy, and I expect that, and I'm sure that he expects that. But he's all business, man. I know his father, but during the game they kept cutting to his father.
Yeah,
and
so you know what that reminded me of?
You didn't see, he looked like Bill Belichick, man. No excitement,
yeah,
steady, cerebral, and that's a family trait, man.
Yeah. You know what that reminded me of? Because they do that. They showed him multiple times in the stands like that. That's going back to like the Eli days, whenever they would try and find Archie in the bleachers. That's what that reminded me of for whatever reason.
Boy, you can't miss his dad. He looks like he can play pro football right now.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah, Mr. Simmons, he's a great dude. And nothing but appreciation for everything he does. He's from down here by me.
Yeah.
And Austin's brother is playing quarterback right now in high school. He's like a ninth grader throwing touchdown. He's another lefty. Listen, in a weird twist of fate, I think there's 7 kids in the Simmons family. 6 of them are left-handed.
That is wild.
That's nuts, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely nuts. Anyway, we're going to switch over to the defensive side of the field whenever we come back to Tom Vanderford, talk about a little Suntarine Perkins, defensive line, and all of that as we get you ready for today's game with the Kentucky Wildcats. Listen, hey, Locked On Ole Miss fans, are you still paying full price for gas? Stop leaving money behind. Get real cash back every time you fill up with the free Upside app. Simply download the free Upside app in the App Store or Google Play right now and start earning cash at the pump today. Use my limited time promo code. This is very creative, football, and get an extra 25 cents back per gallon the first time you fill up. You could make up to $300 per year from buying the gas you already needed to begin with. At first, I thought this was too good to be true, but it is actually completely legit. Real people are getting paid just to make their daily commute, and you can too. Plus, you can cash out at any time by using your bank account, PayPal, or you can even get an e-gift card from Amazon or other brands out there. Don't let this offer drive on by. Download the free Upside app today using my limited time promo code football for a limited time 25% gallon bonus. That's promo code football. Offers vary by user and location. Go to upside.com for terms and conditions. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for the kickoff with can't-miss offers. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love using FanDuel because it fits however you like to bet. Player props, building a same-game parlay, or even jumping in and live betting on the action as it unfolds. So, are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com, the place for your first $5 bet. All right, Tom, we need to talk about the defense a little bit because one of the concerns that I had from the Georgia State game, Georgia State ran for 191 yards, and there were 5 explosive runs in that game, including multiple runs of, I think, over 40 yards or something like that. Rashad Amos had a pretty good day that day, and it kind of makes you wonder if he was at Ole Miss last year, why he didn't get more of a run out than he did. But that's beside the point. We're not going to relitigate that. My concern is Kentucky is, I don't want to call them a one-trick pony. I don't want to go there, but Dante Dowdle, the running back from Picayune Memorial down on the coast, is their starting running back. He had 115, 120 yards in the game, including a 79-yard touchdown run. Now, granted, that was an absolutely misfit, horrible play by the Toledo defense. You could have walked into the end zone. There was nobody around Dowdle. But that is how they're going to attack. And when Ole Miss gives up explosives and they're doing that, that is at least a cause for concern.
Oh, I completely agree. You know, I wanted Dowdle in the red and blue, you know, when he went to Oregon and then when he went to Nebraska. But he's good back. He's good back. He will probably play on Sundays. But our defense, I think, was pretty vanilla.
Yeah.
In that game. When, you know, I can't remember seeing Suntarine Perkins do a whole lot.
No,
and
they did not move him around at all.
That's not because he's not awesome, okay?
Yeah.
So I expect the Pete style of rushing the passer and run blitzing and all that, all those stunts. I expect to see more of them today.
Yeah, and early in the game, there was a near fight that broke out where Prince Willamami Ellen was involved in there, and you didn't see much for him the later part of the game as well. It was basically Deshaun Womack and Cam Franklin kind of toting the mail in that game.
Oh yeah, and they did fine. And,
Yeah.
and what a game by Xavier Harris, huh? Goodness.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
was steady. So I think we'll be a lot more aggressive Saturday. The players that played last year, they know that Kentucky cost them a playoff spot.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something to think about as well. But no, I can't wait to watch this game.
Yeah. Yeah. The only thing, whenever I go through this in my mind, the only way that I think this goes sideways for Ole Miss is through turnovers. And through turnovers, I do mean this, okay? Interceptions, fumbles, and turnover on down. Everybody needs to remember the first word in turnover on down.
Exactly.
You turn the ball over. Gary Patterson on Thursday's show, the college football kickoff on Amazon Fire TV, he did a little segment on his coach's corner about analytics and how he's kind of against it and how they're very much anti-defense and put your defense in a very hard spot and you're okay with that. And he's talking about all of this stuff. And I'm like, hey, man, preach, Coach Patterson, preach.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that Lane has learned his lesson from last year. And it doesn't really, or the last few years, and it doesn't really hurt that we've got a dang good punter and a wonderful kicker.
Yeah, I did not see a kickoff land in the field of play that he hit.
Nah. And he didn't even look like he was trying, bro.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he has a chance to be a first-team All-SEC type of guy. Even his field goals, it just looked different.
Yeah, they do.
Coming on. Yeah, it looks NFL is what it looks like. Yeah. Whenever you see an NFL kicker, that's what the football looked like coming off his foot.
He may end up being our second Lou Groza Award winner before it's over.
Yes, as long as he makes his field goals against the LSU Tigers. Sorry, Jonathan Nichols.
Yeah, no problem. I'm sure Nichols feels the same way.
Yeah. He missed 3 field goals all year and he missed 2 of those against LSU in a game that you lost by. Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. That game, 4th and 25, okay, whatever. Last year against Kentucky, okay, whatever. I still haven't gotten over that Ole Miss LSU game in 2003. Still haven't.
The step on Eli, down he goes. Oh gosh.
Doug Buckles. Yeah, that was Doug Buckles.
Poor
if you're listening to the show, yeah.
Yeah, poor old Doug. And then of course, God bless it, Nichols, like you said, it's like that gum.
Yeah, honestly though, if we're going to be real about it, Eli shouldn't have been under center in that situation.
In the shotgun.
Yeah, he should have been in the gun. It just is what it is, but that is before the advent of the spread offense and everybody being in the shotgun at all times.
Right.
For that reason. I also love people that talk about being in the shotgun on 4th and 1.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, I get what you're saying. If you get the ball on the line of scrimmage and you're right there and you're running a quarterback sneak, that's great, okay? But in any plays, you go back 3 or 4 yards, go backwards after you get the snap to hand it off.
Right.
So you actually give ground before you it's one of those things that people go back and forth on.
Yeah, I think it helps the running back to actually be in the gun because, he's got his eyes up. He can kind of look at what's going on. As he's running towards the line of scrimmage, he can see a hole or a crease. So I like it.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of the pistol.
Oh, yeah.
You get all the stuff that happens in the old school I formation with the runner coming downhill and all that stuff, but you don't go backwards 2 steps to get to that point. You just get the snap and you hand it off. And you can do all the same stuff, but you don't have to worry about getting stepped on. You don't have to worry about any of that stuff. So I am a fan of not being under center ever. Yeah. I understand a quarterback sneak needs to still happen. But Yeah, I am a pro shotgun and pistol as opposed to under center. So what are your predictions for this game? Tell me how this game is going to go, Tom.
28-10, Ole Miss.
Yeah, I picked 24-10, so that's pretty close. Pretty close.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be just enough of a rock fight that keeps it relatively close.
Yeah.
I want to say it's going to be the Fayetteville, Arkansas game from a year ago, to where they completely just come out and smoke Kentucky, but I just don't think it's there. I don't know if that Austin is that quarterback to the point where they can take advantage of that yet.
Yeah. I agree.
I think Mark Stoops going to fool him a couple of times. And don't forget, the average possessions in a football game for an offense is 12 or 13. Against Kentucky, it's 9 or 10. And I think Mark Stoops wants this game to be 7, to where you got 3 opportunities. So if there's turnovers or something happened, you have to value the ball in this game.
Oh yeah. And hey, look, he's a good coach. You know, he was almost gone to A&M, and then I don't know what happened, but he's pretty good coach.
Ross Bjork happened is what happened, but yes.
Bless Ross Bjork.
Yeah. Anyway, what do you got going on this weekend, bud?
Hey, dude, I retired, man.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's a pretty big deal when you retire. You like your first day as a free man is on this show. Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, we're later on this evening, my buds at Northrop Grumman are throwing me what in the military we used to call a wet down. I've got a big retirement party to go to in Iuka, Mississippi. And then the rest of the weekend, I'm just going to try to get caught up on some long overdue honeydews and watch some football and hang out with my grandkids.
Yeah, I do worry that the wife might have been waiting for this moment.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. It's like, okay, we can get some stuff done now. We don't have to waste any time with this piddly work stuff.
Right.
Anyway, congratulations, Tom. I'm super psyched. Enjoy the Ole Miss game this weekend, and we'll talk to you next week, bud.
Hey, and hotty toddy, everybody.
Hotty toddy. Thanks again for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your go-to source for Ole Miss sports. We pride ourselves on offering the most comprehensive perspectives, which is why we are the front door of Ole Miss. If you don't believe me, search on Google Ole Miss podcast and see how much we come up. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment. It helps the show, and it is completely free. Your support means the world to us. And in another big moment for Locked On, college football fans, Locked On and Fire TV, they're presenting College Football Kickoff, your ultimate college football weekly preview. Drake Toll from Locked On Big 12 leads the conversation alongside two-time AP Coach of the Year Gary Patterson and former college star Jesse Holley and Locked On's local experts as a college football preview that only Locked On can do. Catch College Football Kickoff every Thursday throughout the season only on Fire TV. I am feverishly working to try and get Gary Patterson on the show. We'll see if that actually happens as well. Good luck in the game today. If you're going to it, please be safe. Hotty toddy, everybody. Remember, analytics is just the old English word that means bad football. We'll see you later.